Please welcome Jennifer Miller-Herzog, Chief Program Officer for the Land Trust Alliance.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the final day of Rally 2022. On behalf of the entire Land Trust Alliance team, thank you for traveling and joining us here in person in wonderful New Orleans to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Land Trust Alliance, the 35th year of Rally, the National Land Conservation Conference, and all of the exceptional work being done by every one of you in the Land Trust community. This conference and our time together this week would not be possible without our very generous lead sponsors, the Nature Conservancy, and the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service. Please join me in thanking them for all they have done for Rally 2022. I would also like to take a moment to thank our generous patron sponsors, along with our benefactor and supporter sponsors, who are featured up here on the screens. For all our sponsors, our lead, our patron, our benefactor, and our supporter sponsors of Rally, please join me in expressing our appreciation. One of the many incredible things about Rally is that in the process of experiencing all the extraordinary conservation work happening across the country, we are also afforded a glimpse into the future. Rally inspires us to think in new ways. It teaches us best practices we can bring home and use moving forward. One of the many topics we address during Rally, one where we have more content than ever before is in engaging community and the many workshops that incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion as a theme. Yesterday, Andrew noted the Alliance's deepening commitment to community-centered conservation, informed by what we learned during the Common Ground Initiative in 2019. Among the many things we learned, 92% of you told us that community conservation will be more important or much more important in the decade ahead. And 73% of you told us that community conservation is very relevant or extremely relevant to your work. That was 3 years ago. Today, there is an even greater urgency, an intensified focus, and a more sophisticated understanding of what is needed to create a more relevant and a truly equitable and inclusive future for land conservation. A future where the benefits of land conservation can help meet the needs and embody the values of all people, including and especially those who have not shared in those benefits in the past. This requires that we build and practice new skills and new leadership today, and that we infuse the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion into everything we do. Very soon, the Alliance looks forward to welcoming a new Director of Community-Centered Conservation who will lead our programming for land trusts and our partnership building to expand the land conservation sector to better address the needs of more people. This future programming will cover the history of private land conservation and how we can interrupt patterns of systemic and institutional injustice to make land conservation more equitable and more inclusive. We are also finalizing a framework and resources coming early next year to help land trusts plan and begin or continue their own DEI journeys. At the same time, we at the Alliance honestly and humbly acknowledge that we still have a great deal of ground to cover ourselves on our own journey. We are not experts in this space, but we are learning. In the Alliance's first 40 years, all of us together have built an incredible foundation of conservation success, technical expertise, and land trust organizational excellence. And as we look forward, we are fully committed to the necessary and transformational work of learning together alongside all of you how to expand our approach to land conservation to center the needs and values of all Americans. Part of this approach means helping to train and support the leaders of tomorrow who will bring new knowledge, skills, and perspectives for our next 40 years. This year, we have joining us our 2022 Scholars for Conservation Leadership, and the Alliance is proud to once again partner with the U.S. Forest Service to offer this program here at Raleigh. Please join me in thanking the U.S. Forest Service and our other sponsors whose support has allowed these students to fully engage in the Raleigh experience. This career and leadership development program aims to expand opportunities for student leaders majoring in environmental studies to pursue careers in natural resource management and conservation. The program was initiated in 2019 to provide undergraduate students from communities historically underrepresented in land conservation an opportunity to participate in a professional development experience here at Raleigh. This morning, you will meet these students, selected through a highly competitive process, who have joined us from across the country. I hope that some of you in the audience have already had an opportunity to meet this year's scholars. They are accomplished and passionate, and they give us hope for the future. Before we introduce the scholars, I would like to introduce Alice Ewan, Assistant Director for Cooperative Forestry, where she leads USDA Forest Service programs dedicated to the conservation and sustainable management of the nation's privately owned forests. Her national portfolio includes forest legacy, forest stewardship, community forests and open space, and the landscape scale restoration program. For the previous 2 years, she served as Chief of Staff for State and Private Forestry, where she advised and supported senior leaders to advance public policy priorities to protect communities from harm and improve the health and productivity of our nation's forests. We are so pleased to have Assistant Director Ewan with us this morning. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you bright and early on Saturday morning in New Orleans, and I'm very impressed that we're all here, and I think that's a testament to how important this issue is to us and how excited we are to work with the scholars that are being presented here this morning and the future of conservation. So truly, there's no group more important to the conservation of public and private lands than the groups that are gathered here at the Land Trust Alliance Rally. The U.S. Forest Service has a shared interest with you in working together to carefully manage and steward our nation's forest resources for the benefit of current and future generations. I want to thank all the partners gathered here today for your tireless advocacy. Your efforts are elevating conservation as a national priority, and they're resulting in new opportunities. We're really on the precipice of a new era of conservation. The bipartisan infrastructure law, the Great American Outdoors Act that made funding the Land and Water Conservation Fund mandatory, and the Inflation Reduction Act have created opportunities that were only a dream the last time this group met in person in 2019. On Thursday evening, we heard Andrew Bowman challenge this community to conserve an additional 60 million acres of private land by 2030. The tools and funds provided by these laws will be an important contribution in rising to Andrew's challenge. And at this exciting moment in conservation history, it's also sobering to realize we don't have all the people we need to wield these new tools and funds we finally have in hand. I know, speaking for myself, the Forest Service is hiring for the first time in my federal career. Over a 20-year period, we actually lost about 10,000 Forest Service employees, and most of them were the biologists, the soil scientists, the recreation specialists. So we're really in a rebuilding phase right now at the Forest Service, and it's tremendously exciting to have the opportunity to bring young people into our agency and into conservation. And I know this is true for all of our federal partners and for you in the NGO sector. So we have a great opportunity to staff up And that opportunity is a moment for us, for the Forest Service and this community, to grow in the direction of our values. We can create an agency at the Forest Service and a conservation community that lives up to our values and reflects our nation's diversity, prioritizes equity, and grows to become truly inclusive. As an outgrowth of our shared values, in 2019, the Forest Service partnered with the Land Trust Alliance to launch the Scholars for Conservation Leadership Program. This year, 9 outstanding students from across the United States were selected, and I hope many of you had the chance to meet them this week at the conference. I want to offer my sincere congratulations to the Scholars Class of 2022, and I want to thank alumni of the program for also attending this year, including the first fellow selected in 2019, Lillian Dinkins, and the current fellow, Nina Jeffries. We're so proud of these students, and we're honored to continue this partnership with the Land Trust Alliance to support the development of new leaders in conservation. Thank you again to the Land Trust Alliance for this inspiring rally and all you're doing to move our profession forward.
Thank you, Assistant Director Ewan, and thank you again to the USDA Forest Service for their continuing support. The Alliance is proud to have partnered with North Carolina State University and to have had the opportunity to collaborate on this program with Dr. Zakiya Leggett. Dr. Leggett is a professor at North Carolina State University in the College of Natural Resources. She currently teaches Introduction to Environmental Science and serves as the campus director for the Doris Duke Conservation Scholars Program, a 2-year experiential conservation training program for undergraduates who are interested in careers in natural resources and conservation and in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the field. We are honored to have Dr. Leggett with us today to help with the introduction of this year's scholars. And with that, I am pleased to present the 2022 class of the Scholars for Conservation Leadership Program. Students, please come to the stage as your name is called. Aimee Alvarenga. Gab DeVito. Yassine Ginab. Hannah Hackett. Kendall McLean. Ari Mile. Taylor Mohead. Shayla Saucedo. And Zipporah Sowell, who was not able to join us this morning. We are also excited to welcome to the stage and recognize several alumni of the Scholars for Conservation Leadership Program, most of whom did not have the chance to be with us at an in-person rally until now. There are 3 scholars from the 2021 class: Courtney Belcher, Kendall Griffith, and Summer Lauder. Finally, in past years, thanks to generous sponsorship from the U.S. Forest Service, a scholar in each class was selected to take part in a year-long fellowship, as Alice mentioned. Two of these fellows are with us here at Raleigh this year as well. Lillian Dinkins, from the Scholars Class of 2019, completed a fellowship. She completed a fellowship at Conservation Florida starting in 2020 after graduating with a degree in environmental science from Tuskegee University. And Nina Jeffries, part of the Scholars Class of 2021. She began her fellowship with Western Reserve Land Conservancy earlier this summer. After graduating from the University of Maryland, majoring in environmental science and policy, and with a concentration in environmental economics. Congratulations again to all the students. This year, once again, one of these incredible young people in our Scholars Class of 2022 will be chosen to receive a year-long paid fellowship with the Land Trust in 2023. To all of you up here on stage, you should know that trying to decide who will receive this fellowship is going to be an intensely difficult decision. You are all great achievers, your passion for this work is abundantly clear, and your futures are bright. Please join me in congratulating these young leaders once again. For all of you in the audience, you should know that once the fellowship recipient is selected, the next step will be to pair the student with the Land Trust, with the fellowship to begin next summer after graduation. The fellow will interview interested land trusts in the first quarter of 2023. So if you are interested in hosting our fellow, please watch the Alliance website and our social media channels for details. Again this year, we have one fellowship to award thanks to the U.S. Forest Service's generous sponsorship, but the reality is that I wish we had fellowships to offer every one of these students. Not only because each of them are more than deserving, but because you want them working with your organizations. So if your organization has a job opening, please keep these soon-to-graduate professionals in mind. They represent some of the brightest minds in our community, and I encourage you to reach out to them. And finally, if anyone is interested in sponsoring next year's students or providing a paid fellowship, please contact me for more information. These students represent the future, and our keynote speaker this morning spends much of her time working for a better future. It is now my honor to introduce Colette Pichon Battle. Colette is a generational native of Bayou Liberty, Louisiana. As the founder of the Gulf Coast Center for Law and Policy, she has tirelessly worked to raise awareness on equitable disaster recovery, migration, economic development, climate justice, and energy democracy. Working with elected officials, national funders, and frontline communities since 2005, she has pushed to advance equitable recovery from climate disasters ranging from hurricanes to oil drilling disasters. She was named a 2019 Obama Fellow for organizing Black and Native climate justice and collaboration in the Gulf South. Colette now serves as partner of Vision and Initiatives at Taproot Earth, a global climate justice organization working for a world where all people can live, rest, and thrive in the places they love. Sounds familiar. She serves on the Governance Council of the Southern Movement Assembly, co-chairs the National Water Equity and Climate Resilient Caucus with PolicyLink, serves on the steering committee of the Ocean Justice Forum, and anchors the 5-state multi-issue initiative, Gulf South for a Green New Deal. Colette chaired the 2021-22 Equity Advisory Group of the Louisiana Governor's Climate Initiative Task Force and sits on the boards of the U.S. Climate Action Network, Center for Constitutional Rights, Highlander Research Education Center, and Healthy Gulf. There is much more that could be said about Ms. Pichon Battle. She is truly a force of nature in her own right, and we are extremely proud and honored to have her joining us this morning. Without further delay, please join me in welcoming to the stage Colette Pichon Battle.
All right, bonjour, y'all. It's so good to see y'all here. I bet money that folks wouldn't wake up after a Friday night in New Orleans, but you did. And welcome in. You look good, you look tired, but you look good. It's great to have you. Bienvenue dans la Louisiane. Welcome to Louisiana. I was speaking to some of your fellows and saying it's really great to speak around the country, but it's nothing like welcoming folks to my home, to our home. So welcome, and you are welcome here. Before I go too far, I just want to offer honor to the Choctaw Nation. I am from the North Shore, so I've come from the land of the Choctaw Nation and just want to give them honor. Do you know what land you come from? Anybody know what land they come from? Want to say it out loud? Just say it out loud. Ashe. Thank you for knowing whose land you reside. It's important. If you don't know, now is the time, friends, to figure that one out. And we should always give honor to the people who allow us to live on the land that is not ours, but is a place where we build our lives. So I want to say thank you for that. I also want to offer gratitude to Patty and Jennifer and Renee and Andrew. Your colleagues here have treated me with respect and love and honor. It's an honor to be here, and just thank you for all the work, all of the invisible work that goes into these conferences. And I want to say thank you to the invisible feminine work that goes into these conferences, right? Making sure your badges are good, making sure y'all got COVID tests, making sure you have food and water. These elements of care are feminine work, and I want to say thank you to those who don't get to hear the thank you for all of that work, including our servers and the folks who are working on the administrative staff here. Ashe. Thanks to you who wear a mask, who got vaccinated, who wash your hands. You make it possible for people like me to be in spaces like this and be okay. It matters how we treat each other. It matters what we do. Thank you for that. And thank you for the young folks. Ashe, congratulations. I was standing up before everybody else. I think y'all are fantastic. Y'all better give them a job. Thank you. Yes. We need you, thank you. It's important to honor not just where we come from, but where we're going. If we don't invest in our future, we have nothing, and the future is right here. They were standing on this stage, and just really a lot of love and respect for the very hard work and hard job that you will have over the next several years. So, with all that, that's just called a Southern opening, that's all that was. Got to do things the right way before you get started. Just want to make sure folks know that that love is here. We're moving from love. When I got this invitation, my biggest question was, are you sure you want me on the microphone? That's always my question in places like this, because my job is not to make you feel good. My job is to tell the truth. So I want to offer you some truth today, and I hope you can receive it with the love in which I am offering it to you. I want to let you know that I come from the Bayou. I'm just from across the lake, and my bayou is Bayou Liberty. It's at the intersection of Bayou Vincent and Bayou Bonfouca. And I want you to know that the land that I live on will be lost to sea level rise in the next 60 years. So I don't come from the sort of theory of climate change. I don't come from the reading and understanding of climate science. I come from the front lines of this reality. This is not something that we get to, we don't have the privilege to act like we don't know this is happening. We see land loss every day. We'll talk a little bit about land loss as we go this morning, but I want you to know what I'm bringing you is truth, friends. Sometimes truth is a little uneasy, but stick with it, stay with it, you'll get through it, it's all right. It's a whole bunch of people in this country especially who've been going through hard things, and we make it through every day. So just trust us. Go along for the journey and we'll be all right. So I want you to know that I am the daughter of the Bayou. My father is from North Louisiana. My mother is from South Louisiana. That doesn't matter to folks like you, but in a place like this, that's what we call currency. So I can move in and out of this state with deep love and critique because I am of this place, and I am glad to be of this place. And for many others who call this place home, I want you to know this is a land of contradictions. Of course, as many of you know and have experienced, we have the best food, we have the best music, we have some of the best people, and we did that on purpose. That's how we like to live down here in Louisiana. This is one of the greatest states of this union, and I'm proud to be from this place. But I also want you to know that land of contradictions can get a little crazy sometimes. We live on some of the newest formed land of the United States, formed by the Mississippi River. I know who I'm talking to, so I know y'all know that already. But I also want you to know this land, this new land, has some of the oldest trees. If any of you get around some of our prized possessions I'm gonna call you all nerds because you all love land, and I think that might mean you're on my team, but I'm gonna say all you land nerds out there, we got some 500, 600, 700-year-old trees around here on some of this new land. They are a sight to see. They have seen everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. The good and the bad of what this place has to offer. It's a land of contradictions. We have some of the most polluted air, some of the most polluted water, some of the most polluted land. And it's because our state depends on the oil and gas industry to really drive its economy. I'm not here to demonize oil and gas. We'll talk about it. There's some truth I have to tell about it. But what I really want you to know is for such new land, with such old trees, and such good people, good food, and good music, we have a decision to make now about our future. We're the home of big oil and big chemical. We're the home of Cancer Alley. We're the home of Mossville, Louisiana. We're the home of Ironton. If you don't know these places, it's time to look them up. These are places where indigenous folks, black folks, mostly poor folks, are being forced to make a choice about their future. They're being forced to make a choice about where they're going to live, what their livelihoods are going to be, and who their identities are going to be going forward. We're also a place where we've got some of the oldest standing communities in this United States. My community existed before the United States was here. This was the land of the French and also the land of the Spanish, and before that, the land of the Choctaw, where I am. There are many nations who have been here, and we stand still looking at a future that is very uncertain. We're talking about a change in our way of life. We're talking about a change in who we are as people, and this is a difficult contradiction to hold. Do we invest, continue to support the industry that is causing our actual destruction? That's not an easy question to answer when so many people depend on the resources from that industry to send their children to school, to have a good life. It's hard, but we're grappling with it, and we're starting to see more and more people understand that this is not a political conversation. This is a conversation about our lives and about our future, and it's a conversation we have to have the courage to engage in. We don't always have to agree, but to act like this isn't happening is to invisibilize people like me and communities like mine. So I just want to say thank you to all of you working on land, working on conserving land, but also helping folks have access to land. This is a key answer to the climate question that we are not yet finished engaging in. So look, we've got great fruit, we've got great food, but we've got poisoned land. This is the land of contradictions. How can that be? We've got generational oppression, but we've also got liberation music. How can that exist? We've got both frontline communities who are being impacted, but we also have the future of the climate solutions in our hands. We're talking offshore wind, we're talking renewable energy, but it must be justly sourced. And so we have to really think about not just transitioning from one form of energy to another, but transforming a system out and away from extraction and oppression and harm to one that brings sustainability and generation and life. And this is not easy because we like to do things in the most convenient way possible. We are Americans. We like to be comfortable. We are, many of us, comfortable every day without ever really having to ask, who has to give so that you can be comfortable? The answer to that question for most of you, wherever you're coming from, is Louisiana has to give a lot. We have oil and gas all over our states. I'll show you a couple of maps in a second. But we have these pipelines, we have this transit, we have this industry that actually fuels so much of your heat, so much of your cooling, so many of your cars. It's coming from here. It's having an impact. It's damaging our land. It's damaging our people. What do we do so that we can go forward in a better way? This is a transformation of a system that I'm talking about, not just shifting from one to the other. Let's see. So I've been working on this since Katrina. Anybody in here remember Katrina? I know they don't. They're like 12. But some of you do. We'll remind them later. Don't worry, we'll tell you about it. But the big thing to know is that where you are 17 years ago was a pretty tough place to be, right here, physically, where you are. These hotels were housing a lot of people who were displaced from a storm that didn't just harm this city. It harmed 3 states across the Gulf. I live right on the Mississippi line, and the harm was unbelievable. I remember driving in from the New Orleans airport and just seeing the damage. It was unbelievable. To see this city where it is now, it's a contradiction in how I feel. I'm glad we're back. I knew we would come back, never had a doubt about that. But the way we've come back is, well, it's rooted in that same old economic system that's at the root cause of our climate crisis. It was at the root cause of my people coming here in the first place. And it is at the root cause of the imbalance of our community right now. Now, this is a place where you have to be courageous, because I'm going to say some things that might be a little tough, but just consider for a second that what I'm saying is true, and think about it, and let's talk about it. As was mentioned, I'm now the partner of vision and initiatives at Taproot Earth, and we have a vision, and the vision is simple, y'all. We just want to be able to live, we want to be able to rest, and we want to be able to thrive in the places we love. If you live in South Louisiana, that sentence is simple, but it is not easy. Because right now, we cannot live free of pollution. We cannot rest. You have to see the wages of both our service industry and our oil and gas industry. And we certainly are not thriving with all of these natural resources. Why isn't this the wealthiest, strongest state in the nation? That should be your question. Because it means our economic system is imbalanced. It means the system that we're all rooted in is causing a disparity that makes no sense. If we have natural resources, we should have the strength that goes along with that. And if you think about Louisiana, you should also think broader than that, because Louisiana's fate is the fate of a lot of global South nations that we, the United States and other Western nations, use as an extractive resource spot so that we can be comfortable and live our lives. We've got to change this, friends. And I'm saying to you, you privileged, beautiful Americans, we are causing a global imbalance, and we are going to have to reckon with our lives and the way we live if we're going to get through this. We root in values. You don't have to read them. Just wanted you to know we had them. You can check them out on the website. But at the end of the day, your work should not be about work, organizations. Your work should be about values and principles. And the values and principles that you use and that you root in should not just be created in a room of 5 people who then tell you what to do. If you are in community, the values and principles that you root in should be with that community. It's time for you to take a look at your values and principles, rethink them, rewrite them, write them together with the people whose land you're on and the people whose future you are impacting. It doesn't count if you do it yourself in a room and just say we've got our values. Time to do it again. Good news, we're at a crossroads, no time like the present to start moving up in the world. And we move from 6 pillars of climate justice: water, energy, land, labor, economy, and democracy. The short version of this is that if you walk through any one of these 6 doors, we'll meet in the middle, which is that we have a climate crisis, and it requires us to shift all of these elements in order for us to win. This is not, my dear, dear friends, about reducing CO2. If you understand the climate crisis with that formula, you have a gross misunderstanding of the larger problem. While we must reduce CO2, we must actually stop the production of all greenhouse gases, especially from the things that we're just doing so we can be comfortable. There are some things that we will have to do so that we can survive. But the way we're living right now is opulent. We are causing that imbalance. Walk through any of these doors, and you have to rethink these systems. You have to rethink how we do them. You have to rethink how we talk about them. I'll go into that a little bit more later. But remember these: water, energy, land, labor, economy, and democracy. And if you are moving work, try to figure out where your work is going. I suspect land might stick out for some of you. But it's important to understand that the call on land is to free it. We'll talk a little bit more. I want you to know that our work spans the Gulf South. So we consider the Gulf South Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and Puerto Rico. I was watching a news story this morning. There's a storm right over Puerto Rico, and the weather lady said, this storm isn't hitting the U.S., so we don't have anything to worry about. And I was like, wow, look at us. Look at us. Look what we do. We don't even mean to. It was literally right over the U.S. Puerto Rico is the U.S. We share the water with Puerto Rico, and so I want to make sure you don't forget that we have territories that do not have the right to vote for their own governance, but they are part of our country, and we have to be accountable to them. We work the whole Gulf. We work the South. We anchor the Gulf South for the Green New Deal. You don't have to like the name. Just understand what we're all about. This thing is real, and it's hitting us. You don't have to be a particular political affiliation. You just have to say, yes, I have been impacted, and we say, come on in the door, let's figure out the solution. And then we take this through the South. The South, you say? The South is moving on climate justice? Yeah, you're right. That's what we say in Louisiana. We are moving on climate justice because this is our life. This is impacting our farmers. This is impacting our families, and we're moving. We're connected to national work on water. We're connected to national work on climate, and we're connected to international work to build out a network of climate leadership that is invisibilized and forgotten because it is in the Black diaspora that was created through the transatlantic slave trade that was driven by colonization, imperialism, and capitalism, which, my friends, I will tell you, are still the root cause of this global problem that we are in today. This is hard stuff because I'm talking about history. No, you didn't do it, but yes, we all did it. We're all a part of this nation that is still wreaking havoc on the planet. And I'm evidence of what has happened in the past. And you are all now witnesses, and I would say actors, in what we choose to happen for the future. This is a few maps of Louisiana that it's important that you see before you leave this great state. The map at the top is oil and gas, pipelines, and platforms. And I just want you to know that when I say we sacrifice for this nation, I need you to know what I'm talking about. We have given this state as a sacrifice to the nation and its needs for oil and gas. It is coming at a price. The picture in the middle is just a picture of our great state. It's how you see it in most of your books, in most of the school books. You still see that. But that's not actually a true image of Louisiana. The one at the bottom shows the land loss that is predicted. Right now, if you saw a true map of Louisiana, you probably wouldn't recognize it. And where I live is going to be an invisibilized space. I need you to understand that the impact of climate is real, it is here, it is now, and it's not just coming from a storm across the water. It is coming from industry that is putting greenhouse gases in the air, that is accelerating a climate crisis, that is getting to extreme weather, that is bringing storms to these shores, that is bringing up the water column and the sea level rise. We are causing the future that we fear. We are directly responsible for the loss of land in this great state and the loss of tradition and communities like mine, because we want to be comfortable, because we don't want to have to pay attention to what's happening to other nations so we can be comfortable. We suffer the fate of the global South here in the Gulf South, which is a place of sacrifice and extraction for privilege so we can be comfortable, and it is harming and killing and erasing communities like mine. We have to have people whose job it is, whose work it is, to hold the land, to make sure that the land is all right. I think I might be talking to the right crew. I want you to see this map, and all you need to know is that dark is a lot and light is a little bit. This is energy use per person. This is from 2021. And I need you to know that if we're going to handle issues on land, we're going to absolutely have to talk about energy and energy production in this country. I don't need you to know anything except the dark colors are us. We use a lot. We use a lot even when we don't need it. I came in here and was freezing. It's really cold. That's the way we do it in New Orleans, by the way. It just gets hot in the summertime. We like to keep everything cold. But, like, do we have to get energy from a poisonous solution at the end of this? Can't we find something more sustainable if we want to be comfortable? I think the answer is we must. I know the answer is we must. The next generation needs us too. But just check out this map. Because often in our country, we like to point the finger, usually at China, by the way. That's the first question I get. What about China? Aren't they emitting more? Okay, sure. Yes, yes. You may all have that one. And then what about us? And what have we been doing for historical time frames that have gotten us to this point? Energy consumption is driving the climate crisis. Louisiana and Texas, two of the largest oil and gas producers of this nation, we are both at the front lines of the problem, and I believe we can be at the front lines of the solution. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. What we must ensure is justice, which is not inevitable. It's not a given, and it's not a foregone conclusion. And to be quite honest, friends, we don't have the best track record of it. Sorry, we don't. How do we do justice? Is it a DEI program at our organization? That's a good start. But don't think for one moment that's enough. It's nowhere near enough. We're not just talking about how to be good and how to be better. We have to talk about how to repair harm. We don't just get to acknowledge that harm was done. We have to actively repair it as part of a solution to go forward. This is difficult. It is. It is, and many of us have been taught that our solutions should be easy, linear. We should be able to see them and put a little timestamp on it. That is not the problem, and that will not be the solution. This is a complex problem. Many of us are going to have to do a little self-work, because what is really, really harming our country and our ability to lead is fear. Your fear, which I was reminded by a labor leader in New Orleans last night, your fear is a natural emotion. You need it. We need it. We don't want to throw fear away. But you must recognize when your fear is being manipulated. You must recognize when folks are taking that very natural emotion of yours to make you scared of the person next to you, to make you fear other people having access to housing, to water. You have to recognize when your fear is being used against you, and you have to get control of it. You don't have to throw it away. Your fear is a natural instinct, and we're going to need it for this climate future if you haven't been reading what's coming. You're going to need to know how to get out of the way and how to discern the moment, but you're going to have to also know when your fear is being manipulated to draw your attention away from the issue. Fear leading to this sense of scarcity. What do we have? A nice house? A nice car? Some letters behind your name? If you don't have a planet, if you don't have water, if you don't have land, you have nothing. And right now, that future, that pretend, that maybe future for some of you is a current reality for too many people in our country. We have people in our country who do not have a place to lay their heads, who do not have access to water. Water is being privatized. Privatized. Water. You ought to be appalled as people who love this place, this earth, and this land. There are some things that you get to make a dollar on, and there are some things that are non-negotiables, and everybody has a human right to. Land, water, energy, these are things you need to survive. You mean to tell me you don't get access to survival unless you have money or privilege we're losing ourselves, friends. We're losing our soul. If what we believe is that you have to have resources to access water and a safe place to be. These are hard conversations. It's going to take courage to overcome fear. And now this is the work that you have to do. A commitment to self-transformation, say the Hermes principles, a commitment to changing yourself. You don't need to point at anybody else until you check yourself. Do you really believe that someone is less than you, that someone's life is less than yours? Do you really believe that? You need to check yourself. Do you really believe that those people over there don't have a right to things that you have a right to? You need to check yourself. And then your organization, your church, your community, and your family need to shift how they live in the world, starting by what we consume. Our work is to change ourselves. If the United States can get together and change the way our government moves and the way our industry moves, we can save the planet. We can do it. Do we have the courage to? Do you have the courage to be uncomfortable? Do you have the courage to see beauty in something someone has told you forever has been against you, or is something less than you, or is something not worthy of you? You have been lied to, my friends. You have been lied to. And some of it is in your veins, it's in your soul. You've been hearing it for generations. How, if you believe that I am less than you, will you ever follow me? How will you listen to the wisdom that I bring from generations on the land that I live on? You won't hear me if you don't value me. And we have to value each other equally. I want you to understand that our work is in this region. Yes, we point to the South for all of the problems of the South. We got them. I'm not going to act like we don't have them. We got them. And you got them too. You have them too. I've been to Seattle. I've been to California, I've been to Massachusetts, I've been to Illinois. You got them. You have the same problems we have. Let's see if we can tackle them together. We're creating the scarcity that we're afraid of. We're creating the future that will destroy us. We have a choice. What we need to do is grab, control, and manage our fear. And what do we do with that energy of fear? We reimagine. We create. We give our love to the artists and the culture bearers who sometimes are a little bit, sometimes they get a little out of the universe. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to stay in the lines. But if we stay in the lines, we won't win. They got to teach us how to be creative. We're going to have to understand that the bigger fights for justice, queer liberation, housing rights, reproductive rights, all of these things are part of a transformed system. It is not good enough to shift from one to the other. We must transform the entire system that we live in. You don't even have to actually agree with people. You just have to support what it is to be free. You just have to support the concept of liberation and liberty. That's all we're asking. And it means everybody gets to be free. You don't get to control anybody's body, anybody's movement, or anybody's land. And so I want to offer to you, my dear conservationists, rethink that word. It is rooted in a type of oppression that we don't always talk about. To tame and control and claim the land so that we can visit it from time to time, vacation on it here and there. That is not the indigenous way of understanding land. Land, you are part of the land. It is part of the people. You are on it, you are in it, you are of it. What happens to that land happens to the people on that land. It is important for us to not just conserve and preserve land to enjoy in our recreation time, but to conserve and preserve land because it is the answer to this climate question. We should take down no more trees. In this situation, we need the land and the trees to just suck up what we're putting in the air. All of you, no matter the political affiliation, should agree. No more trees down. We'll use the ones we got. Have you seen the stockpile at Home Depot and Lowe's? We got plenty. We got plenty. No more trees. They're taking down old growth forests in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Mississippi to send wood pellets to Europe so that Europe can claim it has gone to renewable energy. We should just say no. We absolutely have to honor the water. That means everybody in this room ought to fight against the notion of privatizing water. Check your municipal system. $10 says it probably has been privatized already. You don't have access to water unless you have money. We should all be in agreement that water is life and water is a human right, and access to it should not and does not require resources or money. Everybody gets water. We have to honor the water, we have to free the land, and we're going to have to democratize energy. We don't just get to shift to renewable energy. That cannot be the stance of your organization. We have to shift to justly sourced, sustainable, renewable energy. Justly sourced means the natural and raw materials that we use to make it cannot come from a conflict zone in Africa, in South America, in Asia because we want to make windmills. It means we're going to make windmills. Let's use some of the stuff we already have. I was recently in West Africa, in a place that has very few resources. They started recycling bits of steel to make their windmills. Why don't we recycle? We got to go extract things from other places, cause conflict, fuel conflict, so that we can feel better about our manufacturing jobs. We're looking at this the wrong way. We have enough. We lack only imagination. We lack only the courage to change. And that is what I'm asking you to join me in today. My time is almost over, so what I'll say is this. It is an honor to have you in my home. This is one of the greatest places on earth. I learned 17 years ago that this was a place I would fight for and a place that I will die for. But this is also a place that has global significance in a global narrative. I was in Scotland last year at the climate talks, and people talked about this place in the global conversation of climate change. Not just the impacts of what climate change has done to our space and our land, but the opportunity that Louisiana and the United States has to lead a better, more sustainable future. We do not have to give in to fear. We do not have to give in to nihilism. We don't have to say it's over. We can fight. We can win. But we can only do it together. You're going to have to see me and value me the way you see and value other people in your community, and it's not that easy. You've been taught not to. I've been taught not to. It's in our social system. We will not get out of this with just those poor people getting hit by that storm. That's not how this is going to go. If we get hit, you're going to get hit. If we survive, you survive. It's going to take all of us to have the courage to move through fear, to rebuild the community, to move away from individualism that breeds that scarcity, that tells you to hoard and conserve in a way that means building fences. This one's going to take us reconnecting, coming back to these annual meetings, reconnecting with each other as just humans, not as people who can give you what you need, but just as humans. We reconnect, we rebuild our community, we collectivize, and we survive. And friends, surviving is the least that we can do. Down here in South Louisiana, we can show you how to thrive. You can see how to party. You can see what music, hear what the music should sound like. You can taste what the food should sound like when you survive. It's this good, the music, the food, and the air, because we have survived so much. We've been on the front lines before. You want to know how to survive this thing? Ask us. Welcome to Louisiana. Welcome to this future. I had an alligator up there because I go see those alligators every morning I'm here. I'm a Bayou girl. They don't scare me. They're all right. Don't worry, they're okay. But those alligators are older than dinosaurs. 500 million years is what I've heard. They're older than the dinosaurs. They're still here. They're in my backyard. This is a place of not just resilience, but resistance. This is a place of not just people, but of community. Welcome. Welcome to this family. Welcome to this community. We will only win if y'all fight with us. And I say thank you for agreeing to fight with us. Thank you, friends.
Colette, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. Before you go, I have a few quick reminders. We will be breaking now until 10:30 when the next sessions begin. And while I know this was said yesterday, it bears repeating. Please remember to thank the faculty leading your workshops today, along with any Rally program staff, Rally program committee members you meet. Rally could not happen without the time and expertise that they so generously donate for your benefit. So thank your faculty, thank the program staff, and I have one other absolutely critical shout out, and that is to the Rally training team here at the Alliance. There is simply no way that we would be having this experience without their incredible planning and attention to detail and their absolute commitment to delivering an outstanding learning and networking opportunity, all that work that Colette mentioned. So please help me show some gratitude to Patty Tipson, Lindsay Blair, Louisa Gibson, and Renee Kivico at the Alliance. Patty, are you in the room? And thanks to all the Alliance staff who made Rally possible this year and worked Rally these last several days. So I know for some of you, coffee is still probably a necessity. It is available in Preservation Hall foyer, so please help yourself on the second floor, recaffeinate for the day. And if you haven't already done so, please take a moment now to download the Rally app. It will help you find all your venue locations. You can download your workshop handouts, and you can plug into the social media conversation, and please submit your workshop evaluations as well. To plug into social media, please simply use the hashtag Rally4Land, that's the number 4, to connect with others here and to see the highlights from the workshops that you weren't able to attend. And then finally, please mark your calendars. We will see you next year in Portland, Oregon, September 7th to the 9th for Rally 2023. Thank you again for joining us this morning, this week, and have a fabulous last day of Rally.